When did opal form in Australia? Did it really happen in a single day? Well, I'm going to tell you the answers, but first I'm going to show you a brand new type of opal that almost nobody has ever seen before. Follow me. Bubble opal. What is it? Well, it's opal that appears to have bubbles inside. Now, I had a single piece of it years ago, but I lost it. Or rather, let's just say it disappeared. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sheila did it, right? Well, that's a possibility, but remember, she really doesn't have, arms. So as the result of not having my bubble opal, I've been forced to work with opal that doesn't have bubbles ever since. Oh, the indignity. But this past February, at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, I searched through roughly 97 million pieces of Ethiopian opal and managed to find another one. Now, we knew that finding bubble opal would be extremely difficult, so I brought my paraboloptic transcorpuscular bubbleometer with me. Now, it was a little bit difficult to maneuver, but you really got her done, didn't you, Sheila? Yeah. Let's take a look at some of these. Most are either round or oval, and the amount of color surrounding the bubbles is variable. Some bubbles were very small, but some pretty large. We even discovered an extremely rare Frankfurter variant, thanks to the bubbleometer. And the bubbleometer also was able to identify bubbles that were actually difficult to see. Can you see it? Well, the bubbleometer works primarily by optical means, but it also has a built-in olfactometer, which can actually smell the bubbles. And believe it or not, the machine sniffed out this very rare double dog bubble opal. Can you see the dogs? And as with all opal, some of the bubble opals had extremely great colors, and others, well, not so much. Let's take this one. Doesn't have much color. Let's expose that bubble and see just what the heck is going on here. The goal here is to smooth out the rough surface to get a window into the soul of the bubble opal. Do opals have souls? Well, I don't think so, but Sheila says that bubbles do. I'm pretty sure that Paco has a soul. Maybe two of them. I smoothed the bottom of this nodule so that we could see the bubble. When I finish, we should have a polished bubble opal. Finally, a presentable bubble opal. This one has only a little bit of color. You can see the color outside of the bubble, but I'm not sure I see it inside of this one. But opal is present within the bubbles of some of these opals. Wait a minute. That's what this photo is. It's a photo of bubble opal that somebody sent me. And do you know what he wanted to know most about bubble opal? He wanted to know what's inside of the bubble. He figured that it was likely air or some other gas, like kryptonite gas. He figured that if I cut off one end of the bubble, the gas would come hissing out, like when you open a bottle of Jolt Cola. I didn't tell him my opinion about the contents of the bubbles because he might get upset and not give me his piece of bubble opal. So I told him that I would cut the end off with my trim saw. Hell, he seemed happy, but he just couldn't part with his treasure. Asshole. Let me take a look at this stuff. Well, one thing is immediately apparent. There is definitely no air or kryptonite gas inside the bubbles of bubble opal because the bubble is obviously solid. In this one, you can clearly see that the bubble extends all the way to the edge, which is flat, and I don't hear any air coming out of it. Did the air escape? I'll say no. There's no gas, air, or kryptonite in bubble opal. And take a look at this one. It's broken and the bubble extends to two of the broken edges. It can't possibly be air. And to think, if I used his bubble opal, I agreed to cut into the bubble using my trim saw. Oh, that made me LOL. What does LOL mean anyway? And in this bubble opal, we can see color. play of color inside of the bubble, which means that either their color flash is floating inside of air or it's actually solid in there. And with play of color inside, well, the bubble is just a well-defined blob of opal inside of other opal. So was opal really born in a single day? And what the heck is opal anyway? Well, opal is composed almost entirely of silica, which is otherwise known as silicon dioxide. Now, I have to tell you that the silica in opal is very, very special. And even though lots of things are composed of silica, the only special silica is in opal. And I'm not saying that because I'm an opal guy, but I'm not unhappy about it. But anyway, it turns out that silica is the main ingredient in lots of other things other than opal, like quartz, glass, and even sand. So silica is everywhere, but if it's so abundant, why don't we have more opal? Where is our opal? We demand to know. Well, as you probably suspected, opal is the sexiest type of silica, and because it's so special, it requires a special recipe to form. And if you miss just one step in that recipe, all you'll have is sand. Opal starts out as water, but dissolved silica enters it from the rocks and gets to a point where it can't take any more. I mean, I sometimes get like that. Sheila, the water is saturated with silica, and saturated basically means it can't hold any more silica. Saturated silica water has only 1/3 the amount of silica that it needs for the magic to start. For opal to form, this thin silica soup is no good at all. Bummer, but we really, really want opal. What can we do? Well, we can either squeeze more silica into that water or take some of that water out. Only then can it become the thick silica soup that's needed to form opal. Bad news. You can't actually put more silica in, but you can take water out. So the only way to do that without screwing things up, the water just needs to evaporate. And when enough water has evaporated, the magic begins. Silica molecules get so tightly packed that they start attacking each other. But this causes them to bind together. Dare I say, hook up? Now our silica soup is very thick and is actually what we call a colloid. We scientists, that is. Kernels. A colloid is basically a gel, ready for the magic to begin. Just add a little alumina, remove a little bit of acid, and the chains of opal start to form tiny balls or spheres, and that's what opal is. Tiny balls of silica. How do we know this? Because you can actually see the tiny balls of silica using high-powered electron microscopes. But water is constantly evaporating, and that means that new opal is forming, right? Wrong. The latest information from scientists of the International Opal Academy presented new information at the Science of Opal Formation Symposium in Cooper Pedy in late 2021. There it was reported that extreme opal-making dryness has only happened a few times over the last hundreds of millions of years. It's the perfect storm for opal formation. So when did this event actually occur? Well, the last period of extreme dryness, that perfect storm, occurred in Australia 23 million years ago. So all of a sudden, perhaps in a single day, all of the super concentrated silica in Australia became opal, all at once, and not one single scrap of opal has occurred naturally ever since. Well, I for one am pissed off, and I know that you guys are too, but opal formation is no longer happening in nature. And if that perfect storm ever happens again, conditions would be too harsh to support human life. So we can have our opal, but we have to be dead. Or we can be alive and have no more opal. This is a tough call. So, by my estimation, the only one who will still be around in Australia's next opal event will be Sheila. You don't want to be there if Sheila's there. I'm just saying. Oh, did you hear me? Oh, I didn't mean that at all. I meant we all love you, Sheila. So all of the Australian opal that ever existed was already created and it will never happen again? Phooey. And now for the final stones. At 51.2 carats, we have Casper. Now, he's not the most colorful guy in the room, but as you can see, he's got nothing to hide. Boyd is a 62.9 carat with brilliant red flash. I spent a lot of time carving him, but he wants to be more smooth. Don't we all? At 51.3 carats, we have Amber. She looks good, but the other opals are calling her plain Jane. But you know what? She still feels good about herself, and well, she's still a bubble opal after all. At 35.9 carats, Dee Dee is mostly bubble, which should be good. But one of the others said to her, "You have a funny shape," to which she replied, "I'll show you funny, pal." Whoa, feisty. Weighing in at 115.9 carats, Victoria was supposed to be the queen of the realm, but she had demands. "Be sure to cut me so they can see my beautiful body." "Yes, your majesty." Sometimes royals are difficult to deal with, if you know what I mean. Blaze is a 65.8 carat dazzler. She really puts the fire in fire opal. A bubble fire opal. I'll shut up and just let you watch. Whoa. Blip weighs 40.5 carats and is our giveaway stone. It's not every day that somebody gives away a bubble opal. Am I right? To enter the giveaway, just leave a comment. Now look at these two, preening themselves. I guess that they want more of a role in a video. They do have a lot of character and charm, maybe, but Frank is totally tubular.